Welcome back, pro wrestling fans. Welcome back, IWC. It's your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. And I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this. Coming to you live to tape, 25 feet below the surface of the earth, here for another special edition of Chaos Corner. It's early in the morning. I want to get you the history at the beginning of the day. As I said, this is a new venture which we've covered in the past, but this time around we're going to try to make it daily to bring you the history of the pro wrestling business, aka pro wrestling industry, right here on Chaos Corner. I can't thank you enough for being here. Sit back, grab some scrambled eggs, grab a coffee or a tea, because it's me. It's the G.O.C. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for spending your time here on Guardian of Chaos, the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. One man, unique, unedited, unscripted, raw dog for you, the fans. No paywalls, no Patreon, no super chats. It's free. So again, I'll say that to say this, and I know I'm repeating myself, but that's what I do here on the channel. Almost 2,500 videos here on the channel, coming up on almost 500,000 views. Follow me on all social media platforms. On X, aka Twitter, it's at Big Daddy G.O.C, and the G.O.C stands for the Guardian of Chaos. That's in real time. Instagram, it's the Guardian of Chaos. I have 2 accounts on Facebook, J Brony and Prodigio Fidelis El Guardian. Follow me on Getter, Gab, Truth Social, Rumble, which I will be going live on Rumble. And that's all I have to say. Come on back. All right, fans, thanks for being here. It is this day in pro wrestling history, October 17th. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying these shows. Again, as I said, I'm going to try to make it daily here to give you the history, which you know I cover here on the channel. So again, shout out to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, there would be no Chaos Corner. And thank you, the fans. Let's get right down to brass tacks on this day in pro wrestling history. 1957, Steve Mongo McMichael was born on this day. Former NFL player for the Chicago Bears, Super Bowl champion for the '85 Bears, and of course the former WCW United States champion. Now Mongo is in poor health now. Let's put our prayers and thoughts and positivity and energy for Mongo McMichael as we speak here in 2023. 1961. October 17th, Jackie Fargo and Lester Welch defeat the Great Mephisto and Dante to win the Southern Tag Team titles in Nashville, Tennessee. Also, October 17th, 1961, Mr. M defeats Hard Boiled Haggerty in Minneapolis, Minnesota to win the AWA United States Heavyweight title. Now, Mr. M at that point, I don't believe it was Mr. Moto, konnichiwa, I believe it's just Mr. M. He would be the final United States champion as the title was abandoned a few months later in the AWA. October 17th, 1982, Bret Hart defeats Bad News Allen Coach, as we all know, to win the Stampede North American Heavyweight title for the 5th time in Bret Hart's career in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. October 17th, 1982, handsome Jimmy Valiant defeats Ivan Koloff for the NWA TV title in Toronto, Canada. We fast forward to October 17th, 1985. Sensational, scary, whatever you want to call her, one of the OGs, rest in peace, Sherry Martel defeats Candy Devine to win the AWA Women's title in Manitoba, Canada, for the second time. That was Sherry's second reign as the AWA Women's Champion. Let's bounce up to October 17th, 1988. Forbes magazine reports that the WWF, which at this point in 1988 is still privately owned, was worth $100 million. That's in 1985. Now, I believe, if I have my facts correct, Vince McMahon and the publicly owned WWE just here in 2023 sold the WWE to Endeavor, which is UFC, Dana White, and all the ilk over there. I believe it was for $2 billion plus, if I'm not mistaken, for a professional wrestling company. Who knew? For all you boneheads and geeks and goons out there that say pro wrestling is fake. It's predetermined, yes, but the physicality and the money is fucking real. And then I apologize for the cussing, because I don't have to cuss to get over it. It just comes out sometimes. So let that sink in. At the same time, word had come out and started to circulate in the IWC, which there was no IWC back then. It was just pro wrestling fans. It was circulating that Ted Turner would be purchasing the old NWA, the former NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, and damn Skippy, if not the following month, Ted Turner did buy Jim Crockett Promotions and changed the name to what we know now as WCW World Championship Wrestling. When wrestling was wrestling, it started to take a little downswing at that point, but then we boomed on into the 90s, the creation of ECW in 93 or 94, and then of course the Monday Night Wars. Ted Turner, when he brought out Jim Crockett Promotions, to begin with, it wasn't a bad idea, but it turned out, as we well know, not to be the great idea. Jim Crockett Promotions was on the cutting edge for pro wrestling in my childhood, in my young adulthood, in my 20s, middle 20s. The NWA, there was none better. It really wasn't. I know I'm a guy from the Northeast, from the greater tri-state New England area, grew up on the big arenas of the World Wrestling Federation, Boston Garden, Toronto Maple Leaf Gardens, the Hartford Civic Center, the New Haven Coliseum, the Philadelphia Spectrum, and of course, the Mecca, Madison Square Garden. And we can go on and on, even into the Meadowlands and so on and so forth, and all the great arenas. Big arena wrestling where you're getting 18, 20, 25,000 people, as compared to the South, the Deep South, even out west in the smaller venues, we'll call it Southern type wrestling of, 4 or 5 or 6,000 or seat arenas. And then of course the big outdoor shows that they did. You can see the difference in the cities, the arenas, and the style and the booking back in the 70s and 80s. Even into the 90s, between the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, WCW, Mid-Atlantic, Georgia Championship, Florida Championship, the Mid-South, the Deep South, the UWF, as compared to the stronghold of the WWF here in the Northeast area, in the shadows of Titan Towers, as compared to the territories out in the Midwest, which was the AWA, and then of course your Northwest, Portland, Oregon, down into California, so on and so forth. And you could see the difference in the styles even back then if you do your due diligence in territories and the history. Let's go to October 17th, 1991, and I mentioned this in yesterday's show on October 16th, Pro Wrestling History. Tatsumi Fujinami, konnichiwa bitches, and Big Van Vader defeat Riki Choshu and Masa Saito to win the Super Grade Tag Team Tournament in Tokyo, Japan. And what I was alluding to, whether it was Les Thornton and Danny Hodge and different folks that I mentioned yesterday, and Nelson Royal, the junior heavyweights, which I wish they would bring back that class, even when WWE had 205 Live. So we don't have these 100-pounders facing these behemoths, 250-pound plus. We had heavyweight and light heavyweight, or junior heavyweight, if you will, and that's Tatsumi Fujinami, was one of the best junior heavyweight champions of all time. So in this particular era, October 17th, 1991, Fujinami and Vader against over Chosu and Saito in that tournament for the Super Great Tag Team Champions in Tokyo. October 17th, 1992, Todd Champion defeats Butch Reed for the USWA Unified Heavyweight title in Cleveland, Ohio. United States Wrestling Association fans. Speaking of that, I was listening to Jim Cornette early this morning talking about the Houston territories and Paul Bosch and that area during that era and that territory and the payouts and how much money the talent was making back then. It really was phenomenal. Mid-card guys, jobbers, so to speak, guys on the opening bouts, making more money, double the money than current stars in the independent scene are making right now by leaps and bounds. So let that sink in, and how different the business was and how really great it was back then. October 17th, 1999, from Cleveland, Ohio, the Fabulous Moolah defeats Ivory for the World Wrestling Federation Women's title. Moolah at this point became the 7-time women's champion. Also on that card, let this sink in, China, that's right, the legendary Joni Laurie, beats Double J, Jeff Jarrett, old slapnuts himself, to win the WWE Intercontinental title. Let that sink in. That's why China was one of the originals, one of the revolutionaries here in women's pro wrestling and what it's turned into today. Back in 1999, she defeated a male, Jeff Jarrett, for the Intercontinental title. A lot of you folks and fans don't realize that unless you've done your research. On that same card, World Wrestling Federation champ Triple H at the time defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin. What? Don't interrupt me down here in the bunker. You can't distract the premier promo guy in the G.O.C. I'll give myself a little pat on the back. So Triple H in 1999, October 17th, this day in pro wrestling history, defeats Stone Cold in an anything goes match. Let's remember, The Rock came down and interfered and took the sledgehammer from Triple H and inadvertently, accidentally, maybe not so much, clobbered Austin with the sledgehammer, enabling Triple H to retain the title there in 1999. Talk about history. You fucked up on that one, Rock. I'm just saying, calling it like I see it. I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly on this channel. October 17th, 2000, B.J. Payne and Flash Flanagan defeat the Disciples of Sin, Slash and Damien, to win the OVW Tag Team titles in Louisville, Kentucky. And now we know the current status of OVW and Al Snow, and it being on cable, Netflix, whatever the series is on, a very good documentary reality show, if you will, right now on OVW with Al Snow here in 2023. And of course, we all know the legendary OVW territory when it was run as a camp for the WWE with Jim Cornette and Danny Davis and the like, when OVW was really doing big things down there in the Ohio Valley, Kentucky area. All thanks to Corny. I don't agree with Cornette's politics, but there's none better when it comes to podcasting and history and knowledge and accuracy than Jim Cornette. And if you don't listen to the Jim Cornette Experience, you're kind of missing out on history, which this channel is a big part of history. Not only my career, 30-plus career as a pro wrestling manager who took the fucking bumps and managed over 25, 30 Hall of Famers, plus many other heroes, legends, stars, young lions, and rookies. What Cornette did back in the day when they had the territories, whether it was Florida or OVW, different developmentals, that's what it's all about. And that's what's needed in today's business in AEW. I know this is supposed to be a history show, this day in history, but I'm also going to throw out my facts and opinions. It is my channel. And if you don't like it, you can change the channel. No, no disrespect. Kayfabe, man. I'm only kidding. So that's why I mentioned OVW, plus not to mention the movie that's coming out very soon, The Iron Claw, about the history of the Von Erichs. Ought to be damn impressive. There's also a reality series out there. I don't know if it's reality. It's really a movie called Heels that was on, I believe, on Stars or Encore or something like that. But the business really being tracked and exposed right now here in 2023 with some shows and series and reality that will show you what truly the business is about in 2023 from guys that were in the business in the 80s and 90s. October 17th, 2002, MTV airs Tough Enough 3 with its trainers, Al Snow, previously mentioned. And everybody wants a little bit ahead, right, Al Snow? Who's the head guy down in OVW right now. Al Snow, Bill DeMott, a.k.a. Hugh Morris, and Ivory were the trainers there at MTV Tough Enough 3 in 2002. 2002, if you will. And remember that MTV Tough Enough has turned out some pretty damn good grapplers. Everybody from The Miz to Josh Matthews and Baron Corbin and many others that I'm missing and so on and so forth, to give you a taste of what pro wrestling school and training is really like. So, and then of course the big history back to the 80s of MTV, which started it all with rock and wrestling. And if you don't go back to the war to settle the score, the brawl to settle it all, leading into the original WrestleMania, WrestleMania 1, you guys are going to want to go back and check out the history of rock and wrestling on MTV leading in to WrestleMania 1. Really was classic, priceless footage when the industry was a lot of fun back then. October 17th, 2008. An interview with Ric Flair for the Daily Star over in the UK for all fans over across the pond. Flair at that time had claimed that his son Reed Flair was about a year away from his WWE debut. Now this is 2008. Unfortunately, Reed would never make it into his debut for the WWE as Flair predicted, because tragically, Reed passed away in 2012. Just thought I'd throw that out there. October 17th, 2008, 2008, if you will, because that's really the way you're supposed to say it. I'm just giving you the facts, man. WWE ring announcer Jack Reynolds from the 80s era passed away. Rest in peace, Jack Reynolds. He truly was a legend. Reynolds and Jesse the Body Ventura were the original hosts of primetime wrestling for the debut in 1985 on the USA Network. Let that sink in. Let that marinate. Think about that for history. Rest in peace, Jack Reynolds. But he was the original with Jesse the Body Ventura for primetime wrestling. And not Bobby the Brain Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, which ended up being unbelievable in primetime. That's another show in the history. If you don't go out and check out Gorilla and Bobby on primetime, truly classic videos and a lot of fun to watch there, and a concept that I believe that should be brought back here in 2023. Rest in peace, Jack Reynolds. October 17th, 2011. WWE Raw is broadcast for the very first time from Mexico, in Mexico, at Mexico City. The big arena in Mexico City, October 17th, 2011, this day in pro wrestling history. We fast forward to October 17th, 2012. National Wrestling Museum announces its class of 2013 into the Lou Thez George Tragos Hall of Fame. The nominees that would go in that year: the Nature Boy, Ric Flair; the legendary grappler and booker and promoter, Cowboy Bill Watts, one tough son of a bitch; and former Olympian, Chris Taylor; And of course, we know that the National Wrestling Museum is in Waterloo, Iowa. So that's the class of 2013, October 17th. We talked about this on yesterday's Pro Wrestling History on this date. And I expanded on the whole garbage and drama and bullshit between Bubba the Love Sponge Clem and Hulk Hogan and Bubba's ex-wife Heather. Well, on this date, October 17th in 2012, Bubba goes on the Howard Stern Show. What a simp he's turned out to be. I used to love Howard in the 80s into the 90s, but what an asshole he turned out to be with his views. Everybody's entitled to their opinion just because I don't agree. But when you come out with the ignorance that you come out with, Howard, no longer a fan and haven't been for quite some time, but why should he care? He's a billionaire, so you get it, right, Stern? And I know that somebody from your show, one of your interns, or one of your former cohorts, because I worked with them all, from Beetlejuice to Fred the Elephant Boy to Grillo and so on and so forth. So you know that I know Stern, who got his start in this area in radio. So I just want to say that. And on that show, of course, they talk about the sex tape and the lawsuit and the pending, which Hogan won millions of dollars through Gawker and so on and so forth. And the whole claim here with the sex and the ex-wife there. A lot of interesting news and notes that came out of October 17th in pro wrestling history. So that's all we have for today. I will be back tomorrow at some point. As I said, I'm trying to do this on a daily basis. And if not on a daily basis, we'll do it weekly and cover the week's pro wrestling history in a little bit longer of a show. But again, I can't thank you fans enough for being here on October 17th, 2023, with your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, here on Chaos Corner. This will be posted on all social media platforms. And don't go anywhere yet. Can I hydrate while you guys are here? And just to get on, speaking of history, I happen to pick up the former greatest pro wrestling magazine ever. And no disrespect, but I'm telling it like it is now. I do have the rag that I picked up, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, because I'll always still support it because I love the business. My over 50 years as a historian, studying tape, a scout, an agent, being in the business, a fan, a smart, a mark. That's right, I said it, a mark. And of course, my over 3+ decades being in the industry, in the business, because there's not too many like me that give it to you here like this, raw dog from his home, face to the product, making it relatable. One man who's actually been in the ring, has the experience, and took the bumps, a la Jim Cornette, Captain Lou, Bobby the Brain Heenan, so on and so forth. You can even mention Gary Hart, for, you know, the Grand, well, I don't think the Wizard took too many bumps, but that's what you get here from me. The 33rd annual PWI 500. This is on display till December of 2023, or it's dated December 2023, on display till November 7th. And just while I have you here for a little bit of history, seeing that it's current, give you the top 10 grapplers, and then we'll go back on one of these special episodes and I'll cover the top 10 for maybe the last 33 years. And this is what I don't like about PWI currently. This is why I went at them last year, and this is why I'm coming at them this year. Number 1, Seth Rollins, here in 2023 in PWI 500. Number 2, Roman Reigns. Number 3, Jon Moxley. Number 4, Gunther, aka Walter. Number 5, El Hijo del Vikingo. I don't know how the fuck that happened. Number 6, MJF. Number 7, Kazuchika Okada. Number 8, Orange Cassidy. Number 9, Josh Alexander. And rounding out the top 10, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. So just to give you some current history. The top heavyweights, again, I can't agree with this trash that they're putting out now. Top 10 heavyweights in the world as of the PWI 33rd edition of 500. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, MJF, Alex Shelley, Sonata, El Hijo del Vikingo, Jake Lee, Alex Kane, Yuma Aogi, you say tomato, I say tomato, you say potato, I say potato, and EC3. What a shit ranking of top 10 for heavyweights. I'm just telling it like it is. And then you go to the top 10 as of the end of August 2023. Here we are on October 17th. The tag teams, which never included a mixed division of genders. It just didn't. Why it does now is pure garbage, and that's why I speak out against this magazine sometimes, although I still support it. Top 10 tag teams. Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Natsupoi and Saori Anui. Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich at 4. A women's tag team. You're ruining the business, you know that, right, PWI? Goto and Hashi at number 5. Trey Miguel, Zachary Wentz at number 6. Number 7, Angel Del Oro and Nibla Roja. Number 8, Miyahara and Iogi. Number 9, Channing Lorenzo and Tony D'Angelo. And number 10, Billy Gunn, Anthony Bowens, and Max Caster, the Acclaimed. Scissor me daddy ass. And then I think not. And I guess I get it in 2023 because when I go back and do my research in history, Buddy Jack Roberts, Freebird Michael Hayes, Bam Bam Terry Gordy, the Fabulous Freebirds, interchangeable Freebird rules. That's how it was invented, when any one of the three, 2 out of the 3 can defend the titles. I'm not sure if they even understand that when they call it trios in AEW when it's a fucking 6-man tag team match. So just my thoughts. I'll give you the top 10 in the independents, seeing that I am currently and still involved in this business with my home company at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, one of the best independents here in the greater New England Northeast tri-state area, with 4 men that worked under the guidance of WCW and WWF. And I say it every time. Owner, Mario Mancini. Head trainer, Pretty Paul Roma. Co-trainer, second-generation grappler, Mr. Paul Perez. And the big man, Big Steve Tracy, a.k.a. Big Dave Paradise. So let me give you the independent rankings here, and then we'll call it a day for October 17th, 2023. And, of course, this day in pro wrestling history. Number 1 in the independent scene, Alec Price. Followed by Cruel, Titus Alexander, Hoodfoot, Tommy Vendetta, Alex Shelley, Calvin Tankman, Brian Keith, Matt Makowski, Marcus Mathers, and Matt Tremont. There's your top 10 in the independents here on PWI 533 edition here on this day in pro wrestling history, October 17th, 2020. As I sign off, fans, sit back and listen to the sounds here at Chaos Corner, down here in the bunker. And once again, thank you guys for being here, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart, in today's insanity of what we have going on. The current wars all over the globe, the heinous crimes that are being committed, the invasion of this country. Pay attention, stay aware, head on a swivel, stay close to your family and friends. Nothing is guaranteed. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Stay in faith, because if he can be for us, who could possibly be against us? Jesus Christ is coming back soon. Don't be caught dead without him. Do your research on what this means. The cup and the span. Don't you dare miss it.